They found out that I had hemophilia when I was 2.
This is the story of Jonathan Hill,
John rolls a death save.
a young boy who discovered Dungeons & Dragons gave him a life filled with adventure.
In D&D, you can't win unless you work together as a team.
Surrounded by his best friends, John escaped his hospital bed for worlds beyond imagination.
I think one of the things the readers will find is how important my friends are to me.
I think you're ready to become a dungeon master.
This is Blood of the Paladin podcast. Hi, it's Catherine, and you're listening to part 2 of the audio version of the graphic novel Blood of the Paladin. When we last left our hero, Jonathan was surprised to find out that he contracted the HIV virus through his bleeding disorder medicine. We're going to pick back up moments later as the news is soaking in, driving home in the car with his dad. We'll be back next week with a talkback episode, as well as the third and final chapter of the graphic novel. But for now, sit back, close your eyes, and get swept away into the world of Blood of the Paladin.
That doctor's appointment was supposed to go well. I was supposed to find out that I was doing better and that life was going back to normal. But instead, Dr. K told me I had HIV. My dad threw a fit, but I got lost in my thoughts and a sense of emptiness and dread until we were about halfway home from the treatment center. Everyone's gonna hate me, Dad.
That's not true. But I do think we're going to have to keep this information to ourselves, just for now.
I heard people on TV saying that it was God's punishment for the gays.
Not the God we believe in. That's just people's fear talking.
What am I supposed to do? My friends aren't going to want to be my friends anymore. And girls? Forget about it. No one is ever going to want to date someone with AIDS. Even if I survive, it's still a death sentence. Neither of us said anything for the rest of the ride. I never felt so alone in my life. All I could imagine was Bytor, alone on his horse, riding off into the foggy distance, into the unknown. I didn't tell anyone. The whole year just kind of slipped past me, and it was already 1986 by the time I'd found a rhythm again with the guys.
It's too bad you missed the party at Andy's house. A couple of girls were asking about you, John.
Ooh.
Seriously, though, everyone was there.
Yeah, I was busy. Family stuff.
Let's get this game going. As you recall, your characters had discovered the ruins where the lizard men were holding a group of peasants as slaves. You came upon a group of peasants being forced to operate a chain and pulley lift system to the lower levels of the ruins by 5 nasty lizard men. Out of the darkness below, the platform of the pulley system emerges from the ruins, revealing 10 lizard men warriors ready to battle. They knew you were coming, and as the peasant slaves strain under the weight of the chains in the heat of the desert sun, the platform nears the surface.
I raise Bytor's shield and fling it at the chain.
Wait, John, we're outnumbered.
And lizardmen are notoriously vicious opponents.
The Order of Light demands life over death.
I rolled an 18. Does that hit, Ian?
Yes! Bytor's shield soars through the air and makes contact with the chain, breaking it with a crack like thunder. The platform drops beneath their feet as the 10 lizard men warriors are suspended in midair for just a fraction of a second before plummeting into the darkness below, where they meet their demise amidst the jagged rocks of the ruins. There will be no reinforcements coming. As the peasants begin to run, the weight of their oppressors no longer on the chain, the 5 remaining lizard men turn with their whips to battle your party.
Good job, Knight. The lizardmen don't stand a chance now.
We fought the lizardmen. Glarnak chopped off an arm with his axe, and Albar kebabbed one on his sword. And as Bytor stood on the edge of the ruins ready to take on the remaining 3 reptiles, all I could think was, Bytor wouldn't hide his HIV from his friends. So why am I? Later that night, as I laid awake in my sleeping bag on Ian's floor long after Dan and Mike left, I tried to pump myself up to tell Ian about my diagnosis. I tried to harness the courage of Bytor. The Order of the Light demands we choose life or death. Ian, I need to tell you something. Something that I'd never told anyone before.
Sure, John, what is it?
I got exposed to the AIDS virus from my factor concentrate, from my hemophilia medicine, and now I'm HIV positive. I understand if you can't be my friend anymore. I wanted to tell you. I think I needed to tell you.
You'll always be my friend, John. Thank you for telling me. That was really brave.
Ian was a great confidant that year, but Champ was even better. Mainly because when I had to stay home because I was too sick, Champ was always there, so I never had to be truly alone. Hello?
John, how are you feeling today? We really miss you at school.
Hey, Ian. The doctor says I'm starting to respond to the drugs. I might be able to go back to school after the holidays, they say.
Man, I hope so. Hey, listen, I wanted to let you know. I just heard that Dundracon has opened its game submissions. Are you still working on your adventure idea? The guys and I think you should submit your idea to the convention. It's in February. We could all help you run the game if it's selected.
I don't know. People aren't going to want me there, Ian. I have AIDS.
Stop. You have every right to be there. And they can't get HIV from playing a game with you.
Everything is so out of control. Every time I make progress with my hemophilia, another thing happens to knock me down. It's exhausting, Ian, and I can't do anything about it.
That's it.
What?
Use that energy and put it into the game. So you can't get out of bed, but all you have is this pent-up frustration. Pick up a pen and get it out, man.
Ian was right. I needed somewhere to put my anger, my stress, my frustration. And writing an adventure didn't require me to be physically active. I just needed a pencil, my notebook, and my imagination. The next few months flew by, and before I knew it, I was back at Ian's house getting ready to test my storyline on Ian, Mike, and Dan.
Here we go, guys. Time to test this thing out.
I still can't believe it got accepted to Dundracon.
I knew it would.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we're just glad to see you up and around again.
Well, thanks for the encouragement, you guys, because this was a pretty cool thing to focus on while I was sick, and you guys are awesome friends.
All right, enough of the mushy stuff. Let's do this.
It's late in the evening when your party arrives at the home of the Grand Duke. In accordance with the protocol, his butler requests that you remove your armor and weapons and leave them in the foyer.
Nobody better touch my axe.
Calm down, dwarf.
Your party walks, armorless, weaponless, down the long corridor that leads to the Grand Duke's study. As the door opens, you can see him at his desk. Without looking up from his ancient journal, he waves you into the room with his half-elven fingers, the frills of his fine nobleman garments hanging daintily from his crushed velvet suit sleeve. There are 3 chairs across from his desk. You sit. The Grand Duke speaks slowly and articulately.
This is the journal of the Archmage Ronarch, our city's patron saint. 400 years ago, he and his companion Kotar constructed a magical portal in his tomb that must be reset every 400 years to prevent the forces of chaos from once again invading our plane. The ritual that is required is here in this book. Our city has chosen you to enter the tomb and reset the trap.
Just as the Grand Duke finishes his sentence, a black arrow crashes through the study window and pierces his neck. He falls to the ground and dies instantly. At the same moment, before you can even breathe, before you can even blink, 4 figures crash through the other 2 windows in the room. They are dressed in black and carrying daggers dripping with poison. They appear to be elves, but their skin is ash-colored and their eyes are as dark as night.
We jump to our feet and grab our...
Our weapons, our armor.
Left at the front gate. Roll initiative!
John, this is the last time you will ever convince my ranger to take off his armor and leave his weapons.
Writing and submitting that adventure to Dundracon was a huge confidence boost. It proved to me that I could do great things, that my diagnosis did not have to get in the way of my life. I could do anything I wanted to if I put my mind to it. As the years passed, I learned to share my own story in important settings. In 1992, I talked about HIV and safe sex at my college, California State University, and 2 years later, I was speaking at Boston U. And by 1995, I was in Washington, D.C., standing in a room with Val Bias, one of the most influential men in the bleeding disorders and HIV communities. He and many others were trying to generate support for the Ricky Ray Hemophilia Fund Act that would cause the federal government to take accountability for its failure at blood safety. I wasn't the only one. Half of the people living with hemophilia in the U.S. were infected with HIV from their medicine. This act that we were trying to get passed would provide some financial compensation to the victims and their families.
I set up a series of meetings for you today with the offices of your representatives in Congress. We will start with the bill's sponsor, Representative Porter Goss of Florida. Are you sure you're up for doing this?
100%. But it wasn't me walking into those rooms. It was Bytor, fully armored on his gallant steed, riding up to the front steps of the U.S. Capitol, ready to defend the weak and protect the innocent. My confidence grew stronger year by year as I learned to advocate, stand up for my beliefs, and got better at D&D. That was important too, but I still had one challenge before me that I was not prepared for.
Ian, you came! Oh, John, wow, I can't believe it is you. I haven't seen you in years.
I just graduated from Boston U in May and then moved back to Northern California. Ian and I are neighbors again. Go figure. And now I'm at a Ren Fair.
We're up for some pillaging and carouseling and turkey legs, so you maidens beware.
Huzzah! We'll spread the word that there are 2 troublemaking peasants in the fair today. I think I better keep an eye on you both myself for the safety of the market.
She winked at me. It was a small thing, and at first I didn't think much of it, but then it became all I could think about. We moved slow because of me. In the back of my mind, I knew HIV could be an issue, but I wasn't letting it rule my life anymore. I'd learned so much in college, and by advocating for rights over the past few years, I had a right to be happy, just like everyone else. But I couldn't keep it a secret forever, so after a few months, I officially asked Rebecca out, which led to us sitting on my couch, her looking as beautiful as ever, and me with a giant lump in my throat. I think Ian's very excited that 2 of his closest friends are dating now.
Dan and Ian always talked about you while you were away in Boston. They call you the DM.
Yeah.
What is it?
Rebecca, I need to talk to you about my medical history. You know I have hemophilia, right?
I remember hearing about it in high school. Why would that bother me?
No, it's more complicated than that. I took this medicine. I mean, we all did. It's called Factor. It helps my blood clot. It helps me live a more normal life.
Yeah, like becoming an Eagle Scout and swimming on the swim team. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the medicine was made from pooled blood from donors, like thousands and thousands of donors.
John, what is it? You can tell me.
Well, the blood wasn't safe. I was exposed to the virus that causes AIDS, HIV. So I'm what you would call HIV positive.
John, I'm so sorry.
I know it's early and I don't want to scare you off, but I have to tell you the truth. There is a risk you could contract the virus if we don't practice safe sex. Of course, that's not hard to do, but it's important, and it's totally fine if that's too much for you to handle and you don't want to date me. It's just being open and upfront about my medical condition is important to me, and
John,
it's part of my code of honor, and I couldn't live with
John,
myself if I...
John,
yeah.
Thank you for sharing this with me. I care about you, and HIV doesn't change that.
But?
There's no but. My mom is a nurse. I know the risks, and I know I don't have to be scared. You can talk to me, John. And you don't have to be so formal about it, like some kind of paladin.
Not everything was smooth sailing, but having Rebecca in my life just made everything better. We were careful, but it didn't keep us from loving each other. And then one day in 2002 at my grandparents' old cabin in Michigan, I really love it here. So many good memories. I mean, we were here every single summer growing up. I'd love for our kids to have that, someday.
Speaking of kids.
What?
Yup.
What?
John,
No way.
we're gonna have a baby.
Rebecca, this is, I don't, how did you, when did you, I don't even know what question to ask you first. And when people say it goes fast, boy, are they not kidding. I blinked and I was a dad. And then I blinked again.
Welcome to our family, Joshua.
We can't wait for you to meet your big brother. Finally, that perfect life I always wanted. A loving wife, 2 amazing sons, and hemophilia is nowhere to be seen. But that's the thing. You can't always see when damage is happening. I blinked again, and there I was in the doctor's office again. But this time it wasn't because Rebecca was pregnant. This time it was for me.
John, you're having a high number of bleeding episodes, especially in your ankles, and if we don't try to prevent some of these bleeds, you're going to develop serious arthritis very soon, and you'll have difficulty walking.
So now I have to infuse prophylactically? I really don't want hemophilia to start intruding back in my life again. I thought I left all of that behind.
There's something else. I'd like you to see a hepatologist about your liver. It started to show signs that your hepatitis C is now active.
Hemophilia, HIV, and now Hep C. Anything else, Dr. T?
I want to give you something that's important. These are travel letters. They tell medical professionals about your bleeding disorders, how to treat you if you need medical help, and they have the HTC's contact information. We ask all of our patients to carry these when they travel.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll throw them in with my factor, syringes, tourniquet, and the rest of my medical cabinet.
John, where is your medic alert bracelet?
It broke a couple of weeks ago.
You need to wear that bracelet, John, not just when you travel, but everywhere. If something happens to you and you can't communicate about your bleeding disorders...
I get it. I'll call the social worker next week for a new one. I got it. I don't need the lecture. I was pissed. I wasn't some kid anymore. I was a father of 2 for crying out loud. I'd gone to college and advocated in Washington, D.C. I was perfectly capable of taking care of myself, and I didn't need some piece of jewelry broadcasting to the world that I'm different. Okay, I was stubborn. I didn't want things to change, and so I tried to keep them from changing. Can you blame me? But it was exactly that behavior that landed me back in the hospital. Remember that 911 call? The upset stomach, the puking, the blood? Well, here we are, back where we started. Dad, can you reach that?
Hello? John, it's Dr. T.
Dr. T! Hi, thank you so much for speaking with the team here.
John, I hope you don't mind. I went ahead and ordered you a new medic alert bracelet.
I think that's a good idea.
John, to be frank, we need to get you set up at a liver transplant center immediately.
Yeah, I spoke to my insurance, and they're sending me to a transplant center in St. Louis. Sorry, can you hold on 1 second? Dad, would you hand me those pills, please? Dad? Pills, please. The pain.
Listen, I am not aware of that transplant center having successfully conducted a liver transplant on hemophilia patients. In fact, that hospital doesn't even have a hemophilia treatment center associated with it.
But what am I supposed to do, though? That's where they say I have to go.
Listen, transplants are serious surgeries. They require close coordination between an HTC and surgery teams with experience in operating on hemophilia patients.
Okay, but to be frank myself, I can't pay out of pocket, so I'm kind of stuck with...
Listen, John, you have to start advocating for yourself. File an appeal immediately. I'll send in supporting documents. I'll talk to their medical director myself. John?
Yeah, all right. I will. I had to pump myself up. I lost track of things. I had to make a choice. I had to choose life. I thought about Rebecca and the boys growing up. Come on, John. Choose life. About a month later, the phone rang again. Hey, Dr. T.
John, I wanted to let you know I spoke with the medical director at your insurance company. They've agreed to allow you to go to the liver transplant center at the University of Wisconsin Medical Center in Madison. This is based on your severe hemophilia A diagnosis and liver disease. I've already called the transplant center and my colleagues there.
That is terrific news. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for your help, Doc. Thanks for advocating for me.
Hey, we did it together. If you hadn't filed the initial appeal and all that documentation, I couldn't have advocated on your behalf. Great work, John. Seriously. Listen, there's one important thing to remember. This liver transplant program is exactly that. It's a program with a waiting list. It's not a guaranteed solution, but it is our best shot.
Blood of the Paladin is a Bloodstream Media production made possible by BioMarin. Hosted by Catherine Chen Lerner and Jonathan Hill and adapted for your ears by me, Joshua Sterling Bragg. The graphic novel Blood of the Paladin was written by Jonathan Hill with Ryan Gielen, based on Jonathan's true life story. Special thanks to the editors that helped me put this together, Allison Stoney and Christina Penny, and to the incredible cast and crew at Believe Limited that helped bring this story to life. Episodes of this podcast were directed by me, Joshua Sterling Bragg, produced by Greg Holtzman and Catherine Chen Lerner, and executive produced by Ryan Gielen. If you want to hear more podcasts like this one, check out bloodstreammedia.com, where you can find podcasts about bleeding disorders, gene therapy, community stories, menstruation, pain and how we deal with it, and so much more. That's bloodstreammedia.com.